Alex would never have thought that his life would end up this way. Attending college and getting a dream degree made Alex believe his life would improve, and right after university, he would find a job and settle. That plan, however, did not work out. Alex drove an Uber every day for over 12 hours and was often bored out of his mind. That a squirrel scampering across a road excited him. The job was quite dull, and it barely paid enough for Alex to be able to survive without starving himself to death. The one rule that Alex had no trouble following concerning his job was that he wasn't supposed to interfere with his customers' private lives. He never had the time, patience, or interest to listen to their stories and show any inclination to know more, especially since he had so much going on in his life. The countless jobs he had applied to had come back with a rejection letter, pushing Alex over the brink, questioning his existence and his will to live. He had no hope left to continue scouting for jobs. He accepted that driving an Uber and barely making enough to pay rent and fill his stomach was what his life had come to and would stay that way for his entire life, even though he put in more effort than anyone his age. The only good thing he was looking forward to was his corgi. His corgi, Milo, had been the best thing to happen to him in his entire life. Not that there were a lot of other life events that he could use as a comparison. His family had died in a car accident when he was just 13, resulting in him having to jump from one foster home to another until he was 18 and had enough money to get an apartment. It wasn't an apartment you would find in a magazine. It was a run-down block of old buildings with more walls with moss than he had ever seen in his life. He lived in the apartment for 7 years, not having the financial freedom to shift to another place that would be slightly better than the dumpster. One night, as the rain beat down on the dark streets with dimly lit streetlights that cast an eerie glow, distorting the road, his lonely life flipped. Like any other day, Alex drove through the city picking up customers, trying to portray himself as a happy-go-lucky guy and dropping those people off at destinations he wished were his final home. The entire day had been exhausting. His morning started with a rude customer who thought they had the right to treat Alex like he was below them. Unless he wanted to lose his job, Alex couldn't do much except listen and try to respond as calmly as he could. Alex couldn't wait to go home and sleep on his couch until he had to wake up and continue the tedious process again. However, the last ride of the day changed his plans, not just for the day, but for his life. He had been waiting to pick up the customer and drop them off at their location without indulging in a conversation. He had developed the habit of tapping his index and middle fingers on the steering wheel as a distraction. All that changed when a girl who looked roughly 19 hopped, sobbing, into the car, asking to be dropped off at a house on the other side of town. She kept looking back towards the place she was picked up from. It reminded him of a fearful animal that would glance behind to ensure the predator hadn't followed it. Ensuring he followed the rules of his work, Alex did not intrude despite being aware that something was wrong. It was hard, very hard, to stay silent. His eyes would move to his rearview mirror to see the girl's state. "He hit me again, Lily. I can't do it anymore. I don't know how much longer I can handle all of this." The girl sobbed into her phone. Her hand trembled with fear. Every word she uttered after that had Alex hooked, and he couldn't help but eavesdrop once he had gotten a good look at how she shivered when she spoke. All he wanted to do was give her the warmest hug he could muster and tell her everything would be okay. As he contemplated the best possible course of action, he decided offering water to the girl wouldn't do any harm, so that's exactly what he did. He grabbed a new water bottle on his dashboard and handed it to the girl without saying anything. She mumbled, "Thank you," before quietly sobbing into her phone. Finally, calm enough to form coherent sentences, she started explaining what had happened over the night to the speaker on the other end. Alex couldn't help but listen to the conversation. The girl's name was Hazel, which Alex had picked up from his client's profile. While she spoke in broken sentences to who Alex assumed was a friend, he could briefly gauge what Hazel was going through. Yeah, he hit me this time." I know you did warn me. But what am I supposed to do, Lily? He's my father. I can't just abandon him. Yeah, I know. Well, because I didn't finish my chores. I know it's crazy, but my dad was drunk. Yeah, I will call you once I'm out of this Uber. She seemed shaken up by the events that played out, and Alex saw Hazel take deep breaths, trying to calm herself, and was a little satisfied to know that it was working. Seeing the girl in this state reminded him so much of himself and his experience in foster homes. The dark memories from foster care, or Alex's burning desire to help Hazel, eventually pushed him to break the one rule Uber drivers had to follow. Are you okay? Do you need anything? He said awkwardly. Nothing, she stammered. And Alex didn't know if it was fear or the overwhelming amount of emotion she was going through. I'm sorry, but I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. I'm okay, just a little shaken up. Life at home isn't the greatest. And it got unbearable tonight. I had to leave, Hazel replied, sighing deeply, and for a moment, no one spoke. Alex wasn't sure if she would continue, and it seemed like Hazel was trying to calm her nerves by drinking the entire bottle of water Alex had given her. After a few moments, Alex decided to break the silence by asking her if she wanted to confide in him, while letting her know he understood what coming from a broken family felt like, and maybe having someone who's gone through similar experiences listen would help. Alex seemed to be weighing the pros and cons of this, her eyes darting from her hands to Alex, until she finally sighed and nodded. My mom died a year ago in a car accident. She was on her way to pick me up from cheer practice when a truck rammed into her, and she passed away right there. I guess my dad decided to blame me for her death, considering she was coming to pick me up. Honestly, sometimes I think he's not wrong. Alex noticed that Hazel's breath rate started getting quicker. He motioned for her to drink water while telling her to take deep breaths. Hazel continued with her story once she had taken a few deep breaths to regulate her breathing. Over the months, he started getting aggressive towards me and made me clean the house and do chores for him that was never up to his expectations. It seems as if he's turning the grief of my mom dying into anger and directing all of it towards me. With tears running down her face, she told Alex how her dad used to be a nice, gentle guy and never expected him to turn against her. Hazel's knuckles went white as she crushed the empty bottle in her hand when she moved on to how abusive her father had become in the last few months. They continued to converse about how she dealt with all of this until they reached her location. Before getting out of the car, she thanked Alex for listening to her, and at that moment, Alex made a decision that changed his and her life. He asked Hazel for an address where they could send each other letters so that he could make sure she was safe. Exchanging addresses, Hazel got out of the car with a smile, her chest feeling light. It seemed as if both of them developed a sibling-like relationship where Alex felt the need to protect Hazel as if she was his little sister. And Hazel felt comforted by Alex, just like she imagined she would feel if she had an older brother. Unfortunately, she was an only child and had no siblings to support her. They started exchanging letters weekly, with Hazel giving Alex the details about her school life, her cheer competitions, and her life at home. Alex made sure to reply to every single letter, cheering Hazel on and motivating her to keep going, even though the situation at her house worsened over time. It gave both of them a sense of peace to know they had another person they could rely on in times of need. It was almost like an intermission, just a few seconds of light in their lives. But like all good must come to an end, their brief period of happiness was crushed when Hazel's father found out about the letters. I'm so stupid, Hazel thought when she came home to realize that she hadn't picked up the letters in the mailbox before leaving for school. Now her dad sat on the sofa in front of the door with the letter she had received this morning opened on the table in front of him, along with all the other letters she had kept in her drawer. He sucked in air through gritted teeth, a sign he was furious. His cheeks were flushed red from the multiple drinks he had had. What is all of this, Hazel? Who is this man you're talking to? All she could do was fall to her knees apologizing and crying for forgiveness. She knew her dad was more furious that she had told someone else about his actions, and now he would never let her send another letter again. When her dad returned to his room, Hazel picked herself up from the floor, went to her room, and started packing her bag. She sent what she believed to be her last letter to Alex. Alex, this isn't an ordinary letter. My dad found out about the letters we have been exchanging, and now I will never be able to send another one again. This will be the last one. Please look after yourself and don't worry about me. I'll be fine. I'll figure out how to survive. I always do. Please don't reply to this, Alex. I'll get in trouble. Thank you for always being there for me. I'll never forget you. H. As she scribbled the last line, tears splotched the previous line, and all she could think of was if Alex would be able to read the letter. Days go by with no communication between the two. Hazel continued with her life the same as before she met Alex, even though there was a void in her life that she couldn't fill. However, Alex couldn't think straight since he got Hazel's letter telling him not to contact her again. He did not know if she was safe and didn't feel comfortable letting her stay there without any knowledge of her well-being. Alex was driving home when he abruptly made a sharp U-turn and went opposite. His mind filled with determination, he decided to stop by Hazel's house and see how she was doing for himself. He tried to remain patient and forget about her, but those few weeks were the best weeks of his life, and all he wanted was to get that back. Fortunately for Hazel and Alex, Hazel's dad wasn't home when she opened the door to Alex standing on her doorstep. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her eyes wide with shock. "I had to see if you were okay. I was worried," Alex replied, shaking and ruffling his hair. Hazel invited Alex inside since her dad was going to be out late and explained every detail of what had happened the day her dad found the letters. "It got bad. I don't think I can go through it again. That's why I decided to stop sending any letters. I'm sorry for making you worried." Alex felt a sense of anger wash over him as he realized what Hazel, someone he considered his younger sister, was going through while living here. "You must leave, Hazel. It's not safe for you to stay here." He convinced Hazel to leave the house, going to the spare house that she went to when they first met. It took a while to get the point across, but Alex understood how scary the situation might be for her and gave her time to decide while he prepared tea for her. "Okay." A voice echoed through the house and reached him. Hazel had agreed to escape this broken home. Alex helped her pack her bags while she wrote a note for her dad, explaining that she could no longer live here and needed to leave to keep herself sane. Settling in the passenger seat of his car, Alex managed to drop Hazel off at her new house. She got off with the promise that she would continue writing, letting him know she was okay. That night, as Hazel lay in bed without her father looming over her, threatening her with death, she felt at ease, knowing that someone loved her. Alex lay on his couch, and for the first time in so many years, he slept with the happiness that someone was out there who cared for him. Even if his life hadn't gotten better financially, there was someone who was emotionally there for him.